This is Marketing Uncomplicated. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Today, I have Rob Smith, who is passionate about helping mid-sized businesses and manufacturers unlock their digital potential and scale efficiency. As the founder of Fractional Digital, he serves as a strategic digital advisor and fractional CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, helping companies maximize their existing tech investments in CRM, web, and marketing automation. His commitment to the fractional his commitment to the fractional executive community extends through Fractional Conference, aka FRAC, the first premier conference for fractional leaders. I love this because there is so many fractional leaders that have kind of spawned off into really supporting that mid to small tech startup environment. And Ella, ELLA, a groundbreaking SaaS platform designed specially for fractional CMOs. He also leads Martech Circle, a collaborative think tank of marketing technology executives, and I'm going to be in that meeting for the first time tomorrow. Beyond business, he's honored to serve on the board of Jack's Caregiver Coalition, supporting male caregivers through the journey of caring for loved ones. That's beautiful. Welcome, Robert, to the show. I'm so very excited to have you here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's great to be here, and I love talking about some of my most favorite things. So
yeah, I know we're going to dig into it, and I can't wait to be a part of the conversation tomorrow. So let's set the stage a little bit here from strategy to execution. So you've led digital transformation at both business units and enterprise levels. What's the biggest misconception companies have about what digital transformation actually means?
that's an easy one. Generally, executives think it's a technology
Yes.
that you just need to go buy and acquire and implement, and that will solve your problems, when that's actually the last step.
Yeah.
I use a framework that starts with people and then gets to process and then technology. So you need to have the right talent to be able to address a specific problem. And then you need to build a business process around solving that problem, and then identify some technology that can help and support your business process. If you just take technology and point it at a broken process, or point it at a process that doesn't have the right talent, you just end up burning through a whole bunch of money. You don't get the results that you want, and then these digital tools don't work.
Yeah, absolutely. And those digital tools are really like the culmination of kind of what really supports all the efforts within marketing. And if those aren't connected, then it's like, how do you even measure?
Exactly. And that's actually why I, like at the beginning of my intro, you said, I support small to medium-sized businesses that, in my experience, somebody has implemented a website, but nobody showed them how to use it to drive business. And then somebody else implemented a CRM, and nobody's shown them how to connect the two of those things to find new customers.
Yeah.
And then they usually have some kind of an email tool, which is often in a corner somewhere, that's not connected to either the website or your CRM, and you've got no way of talking to your customers. So when I engage with clients, it's usually a slam dunk to just come in and connect those and show them how to find new customers, and that drives instant return on investment.
Yeah, it's wild, to be honest, and I deal with the same thing too when clients come in, how there's almost this process of having to backtrack because that no one has ever set them up properly from the beginning. And it's not that they have to take a pause, but it's almost like that light bulb goes off in their head that there was a miss on a lot of things that could have been happening up until this point that wasn't happening because of the lack of these type of things.
Yeah, I think too that, and this isn't to throw shade at anybody, but often there's people get brought in to implement a website.
Yeah.
Or fix the website. So they've been given a job. You're going to move from technology A to technology B because they understand how to execute in technology B, and they implement that, and they do exactly what they've been asked to do, and then they leave.
Yeah.
And the company doesn't see the benefit. And it's not because technology A or technology B were the wrong ones. There's no bad technology. There's just bad implementations of technology. And I think a technology that's been implemented in the absence of a strategy, like, why do you need a website? What is its job? What do you want it to do for you? Because if you can answer those questions, then you can get to, well, what kind of a website do I need? How do I connect that to a CRM? How am I going to do communication? and you start stitching those things together, and that then becomes your marketing strategy. I want to interface with these customers at this stage of their journey and give them this message about these products. And once all of that is stitched together, then your technology starts doing a lot of the lifting for you.
Yeah, I completely agree with that statement. Like, there is no bad technology, there's bad implementation. And a lot of that also has to do with buying into systems that companies don't necessarily need. So it's offboarding, onboarding, offboarding, onboarding, and not really truly understanding how to really buy into a system that can support them from their inception to like many years into their growth, and really investing in that setup.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think in a way, it's not marketers writ large, but generally agencies and marketers that get brought into a company. Often smaller companies don't have an internal marketing team, so they rely on an agency or some external resource to help build, implement a tool, and they're not really embedded in the business to really
Yeah.
understand what the strategy is, to then determine what is the appropriate technology. And that, I think, is a key to the fractional model, because I get embedded right in the leadership team.
Yeah.
And, I
When you
spend
wouldn't necessarily if you were working there full time.
right.
Yeah.
And I get, access to operations and sales and HR and customer service and marketing and all of these different systems and people. And I spend 30 to 60 days getting to know the business and understand all their technology profile, and then say, these are the pieces that we'll keep, and here's how we'll use them. These are some awesome, talented people in your organization. Here's how we need to coordinate and organize them. And 9 times out of 10, there's no real technology investment that's needed. It's using the technology that's already there, but connecting it in a way that's never been connected before.
Yeah.
And it's a real unlock. Really, really clever, smart people working in these businesses that just not been shown the manual on how to use these tools.
Yeah, totally. It's wild, wild, wild. So you've been known as a serial entrepreneur. Can you share a moment when an idea you championed internally turned into a real revenue or impact?
Sure. So if I go back to when I was at 3M,
Yeah.
um, so I was at 3M Canada, and
And
I
I
was
meant to say serial intrapreneur.
entrepreneur. Yeah. Well, I've built businesses, if you will, inside of the company.
Yes, yes.
And then now I'm outside of a company. I've actually built 4 businesses now.
So you
So
got both. I love it.
yeah, but a really good example inside a company is we were receiving faxed orders from Walmart or whoever. The orders would come in by fax, and you would come in the morning, and customer service would go and pick up these sheets of paper and then sit down at their desks, and they would get their coffee, and they would dutifully spend hours entering the order from Walmart from yesterday. And then tomorrow they would do the same thing, and the day after that they would do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I worked with an external technology provider to customize essentially a really early optical character recognition to EDI technology platform. And within 2 years, we were flowing $1.5 billion through a scan to 3M tool, and had built up an internal infrastructure to build all of that. So that was like being an entrepreneur inside of a company, finding a solution and then selling it to
Yeah.
different 3M subsidiaries from inside the company. Um,
That's really
out
cool.
outside of the company, 2 years ago, I had too many clients,
Yeah.
and uh, I was really struggling to service all of
Maintain.
them
Yeah.
as a fractional CMO. So I worked and collaborated with some other fractional CMOs to build a technology solution called Ella,
Mm-hmm.
which
What we mentioned
accelerates,
earlier. Yeah.
yeah, it accelerates the work of a fractional CMO so that they're able to support more clients and support them more efficiently and grow their business. And
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the ins and outs of Ella, because I think that that's very interesting in terms of, what does the platform provide? How does it support from an end to end? And how is a fractional CMO able to take on more due to being able to like be on this type of platform?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I'd found when I was starting my fractional journey was I would go to work for a client, and they would want a website built, or they would want a LinkedIn campaign written, and they wanted to get to the deliverable without actually spending any time doing the strategy.
Yes.
And that creating
Yes.
that strategy takes time and energy and effort. And what we did with Ella was we defined for marketers what would a marketing operating system look like? What would those core elements? So within Ella,
Ella.
we have elements.
Yeah.
Um, what would those elements be that you would need to complete, like an ideal customer profile or persona or a brand guide or value proposition design guide?
Yeah.
So you create those things, and that would normally take 6 to 8 weeks to get completed. And now within Ella, I probably get most of those completed in a few hours.
Amazing.
And that compression of time allows me to go back to a client almost right away with, here's what your landing page should look like, and here's the email sequence I want to build and send for you, or here's your LinkedIn campaign. And because the turnaround time is so quick, it allows me to scale and have more clients, and it also um, honestly allows me to outcompete other agencies that need several weeks to be able to turn
To
around
complete that.
a brief and get back to a small business with something that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I think it's super important, and you're right. A lot of people focus on the go-to market without making sure that their house is in order before getting to market. And it's
Yeah,
things like their content.
yeah, and fundamentally, what we've done is, so on the engine that's driving all of this is an LLM. We happen to be connected to OpenAI right now, but it could be any of them. We're kind of agnostic.
Yeah.
Um, And what we've done is we've taught Ella to be an excellent marketer. There's probably 20 or 25 different
Prompts.
frameworks that people have built over the years to do marketing. So we've adapted all of them and given instructions into Ella how to do all of those different things. And then we teach Ella about a client and say, this is who their ideal customer is. These are the markets they serve. These are the competitors. These are the products that you deliver, the services that you deliver. And if you're trying to communicate to a specific ICP at a specific point in the customer journey, so unaware, aware, considered, purchase, post-purchase, what messages are the critical messages to get to people along that part of the journey? And then Ella is really great when she's got all of that context and everything is sort of in memory
Yeah.
at creating some just fantastic deliverables. And then as a CMO, you can then edit and sort of polish the final deliverables before you're giving them to your client. And it really gives you scale.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I love it. I'm going to have to check it out this second we hang up.
Yeah.
How do you tell me a little bit about how you balance innovation with scale? Especially when working in enterprise environments where change can be slow compared to the small to mid-sized companies that you have taken on. Granted, I think you and I have kind of come from a similar background in terms of working with enterprise companies and then kind of taking those learnings and injecting it in to the mid to small size companies because it's needed, especially from a functionality standpoint. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you manage scale from that standpoint within enterprise, and then how you brought it full circle into like who you support today from the mid to small size companies.
Well, I think it's exactly the same approach and process. So it's understanding what the strategy is and defining that, and then who are the people who need to engage with, operate, whatever this business process is that's going to support business growth, and then um, define those processes and understand who's responsible for which stages and where are the handoffs and where are the defects, and how do you ensure that there's not waste in your processes.
Yeah.
And then identify some technology that can then support them. And I think, you know, even 10 years ago, the quality of these tools that are available to any person, any layperson from the street for $20 a month it's just insane, the amount of capability that you have. And
Yeah.
I believe the next billion-dollar company is going to be built by a solopreneur. Like there's
100%.
I think there's just so many good ideas, and now
With
the
the
cost
support
of
of AI.
supportive AI, but also cost of storage is approaching zero asymptotically. Cost of
Yeah.
compute and is approaching zero. So I think if you have a really excellent, well thought out value proposition, and it really meets a customer's need, you can scale that, using AWS or whatever platform you happen to be familiar with. You can scale that and really capture value quickly.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting time to be alive, to have access to all of these tools.
I agree. I totally agree. So just to kind of, build up on that, what then would you consider, obviously there's all this scale that's happening on a fast scale, but what would you consider your secret to aligning these tech decisions
Mm-hmm.
with actual business outcomes, in the sense of, because it is a crowded space, right? And I think even if we are speaking to the smaller business owners, it's like, how do you navigate what's happening within that space today and align it with your business goals and outcomes?
Well, there's way too much happening to pay attention to everything. So
Yes.
I think Scott Brinker produces this wonderful map of all of the marketing technology that exists, and every year there's more and more companies. I think he's got 14,000 companies or something on his list this year.
Yeah.
Well, it's too much for any one person to take in. So I leverage my network, and I'm a
It's all
strong
about
believer.
leverage your surroundings, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer that people hire me to solve the problems that I know how to solve.
Yeah.
But a lot of those problems I know how to solve are only solvable because I've got a really strong network. And I'm able to reach out with a question. And that's what actually makes Martech Circle such a valuable asset, is that I have literally dozens of industry experts that I can reach out to and say, hey, I've run into a wall. Can any of you help me find a door? And
Yeah.
usually within 10 to 20 days, I've got 4 or 5 options in my inbox that are just, they're not things I would necessarily have thought of initially, but do a little investigation, you're able to find a way through that wall. And I think
Yep.
that ability to leverage your network is
Huge.
it's a competitive advantage.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah,
So just to like further like stretch the question in terms of what we were
sure.
just talking about, the connection between aligning tech with business outcomes, taking it a little further, the relationship between digital transformation, going back to our original question of what that actually is, and then the financial performance, and the connection to like what most marketers miss in correlation to that.
I think, and again, it's not. I think people were enamored with clicks and likes and votes, and
Really focused on that number in terms of the growth constantly.
yeah, and
Yeah.
those are important, but ultimately, in I don't know, maybe it was the way I was sort of brought into business, but I always think of profit dollars.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just revenue, it's profit. Like, every channel I think about, every go to market model, I try and get to profit dollars and understand really what are the levers I have available to me
Yeah.
to either reduce a cost or increase profitability of like that next dollar that comes through my funnel. And you know it's really a lot of math
Yeah.
that is not.
Played out.
Yeah, it's kind of boring too. Like it's spreadsheets, but inside the middle of your P&L, if you can move 20, 30 basis points of profit and not even move your top line revenue, you could double or triple. In some businesses I've helped, you can double, triple, quadruple their profit, and their sales have stayed flat. You just help them in the middle to understand where they weren't leveraging parts of their organization well.
Yeah, that's totally true. And it's just that, I mean, yes, it is like mundane to go through those numbers, but it is like finding that needle in the haystack that's really going to flip it around.
Yeah. And then on the other side, once you've sorted out and you've optimized your P&L, then being able to pivot and say, now here's how I'm going to go and grow my customer acquisition, and I'm going to
Yeah.
reduce churn, and I'm going to, like, all of the things that you do as a marketer to set a strategy. If you do that on a broken system, it's not wasted, but there's just so much more benefit you can get if you go and you actually sort out what's broken in your P&L first.
Yeah. I have a two-part question for you, like just further digging into, what does a high-performing digital ops model look like?
Mm-hmm.
What does that sort of digital transformation playbook look like, when entering into like a new company or a division or optimizing a company that's been going at this for so long? And then, to add to that, like as a secondary follow-up, like what are most companies still getting wrong? Because there's a lot of them out there that are stuck.
So I think again, Rob, my opinion, but I've probably talked to a few hundred companies now.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I see being a failure point is you have marketing, who's responsible for digital things, and you have sales that's responsible for selling things.
Yeah.
Then usually you have operations somewhere else in the company that's responsible for delivering things. So you've got silos. And one of the first things I do is, as I do sort of my listening tour and try and understand the strategy, is I figure out if there's silos.
Which
And
there always are.
my favorite solution is to put two people in a box.
Yeah.
So you put, like, you had someone who was a marketer and someone who was sales, and now they're in the
Yeah.
same box.
Yeah. Oh God.
And on an org chart, it's like, well, now what am I responsible for? You now have common KPIs, you have common goals, you have common, um, um, mutually, like, you either win together or you lose together. So you end up modifying the behavior of those two organizations by putting two leaders in a box.
Yeah.
And that, I would say 9 times out of 10, that's where I start. Now, if there's really great collaboration between those two groups already, then there's an issue somewhere else. But in my listening tour, if I hear, sales say, well, marketing doesn't give us any good leads. And then
Always.
if I go to marketing and they say, well, we generated 1,000 leads last month, but sales didn't follow up on any of them, then it's like, all right, the issue is clear.
Age-old complaint.
Yeah, then it's like two in a box.
Yeah.
But I think if you come in as an external person and you sit with the CEO and you say, that's the problem, they're like, oh, it was right in front of me, but you're right. Let's try it.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, it's so blatantly transparent that that's almost probably 98% of the time what you're going to hear from like the sales and the marketing and sales.
Yeah. And I think that businesses have two kinds of problems. You either have a sales problem, and sales is revenue. So I love the recently I've heard of I've met some people called chief revenue officers. And they're responsible for the entire funnel, from awareness all the way through to sales and service. So there's a marketing component and a sales component, and that's really the output of two in a box.
Yeah.
But I've heard that there's either a sales issue or there's an operations issue. And you just need to quickly diagnose, like, what is the company suffering from? If they're suffering from a sales issue, spend time in sales and marketing. If there's lots of sales, but they're not making money on those transactions, then it's an operations issue.
Yeah.
And then I
True.
shift gears and focus on ops.
Yeah. It's very good to decipher those kind of gaps to really plug in. So furthering just on you know, obviously, things not working, but from a personal standpoint, has there ever been an instant where you've been on a transformation project that didn't go as planned, and how did you pivot, and what did it teach you in the end?
Um, that's a great question. There's certainly things that have not worked out the way that I had hoped or expected, but I learned something from each one.
Yeah, always.
And as an example, early on at 3M, we created a direct-to-consumer store where you could buy 3M products. And 3M and the industrial business especially always sold through distribution. So
Yeah.
we would have products available for sale in this store. It was a web store. We had products available for sale in niches. And the price point was such that it was so far above market that we really shouldn't sell anything.
Yeah.
And I would look at our sales report every month, and I use that as essentially a problem detector. Because if I was selling a lot of a certain product,
Yeah.
it meant that my channel wasn't representing that product well. It wasn't visible through my distribution. They didn't have it in the quantities that my customers wanted. So then I would go to my channel and encourage them to change their pack sizes, maybe put some more product details on the website so that things did become findable. Because
Yeah.
essentially, if they were buying it from me, it was because they couldn't find it anywhere else in the channel. And it was at such a high price, it was absurd, but yet they were still buying it from me. It was almost like an error detector.
Yeah.
And so that was, in a way, that store, it wasn't a commercial success, but we pivoted and we used it as a way to detect when our channel was not representing our products well digitally.
Yeah. Super interesting. And you obviously took that learning and brought it into other instances, so you knew how to pivot in that point.
Yeah, if you get lemons, make lemonade,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So here's an interesting question. You've worked across companies that obviously have global reach. Um, is the adaptation of transformation strategies across regions different based on their like market dynamics?
Yeah, so there were, if I think of the way that we used to think about the 3M world, so
Yeah,
we had sales in 150 countries, give or take, um, and about 40 different languages. And if I think of, like, there were modern economies where you were selling quality,
yeah,
and and then there were other economies which were earlier on their growth. Like the economy itself, the local economy was earlier on in its growth phase. They were building out infrastructure, and in those economies, things were more price sensitive. They weren't as concerned about quality. So your actual go-to-market messaging and marketing messaging in those different economies for often the same product was very different.
interesting.
Um, sort of the developed economies versus the emerging economies kind of division.
Yeah.
Um, there was a tremendous amount of innovation in Latin America and in Asia
Okay.
because they leapfrogged our infrastructure. So they went straight to mobile phones and full 4K video years before we did in North America.
Yeah.
So people would run a business on their mobile phone out of essentially a garage stall in an urban environment. And we had to figure out how to engage with a business like that in Taiwan. And then maybe a different business where you're dealing with Granger in the US, which is a multi-billion dollar, 1,000 location huge digitally sophisticated partner. And so you had very, very different needs that you were trying to meet, ostensibly with the same tech stack. We had a global single instance strategy for our tech stack. So we were trying to leverage technology everywhere around the world that was common so that we could, drive efficiency and effectiveness.
Yeah. Those projects must have been massive.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and the amount of data that comes out of that, oh my gosh, I just get super excited thinking about all of that.
Yeah. At one point, we had 70 contracts with email marketing providers.
70?
70.
Wow.
And
It's enough to handle one.
they were in different countries and sold to different people at different times with different terms. And my very first project to align the MarTech stack was to consolidate that to one global single instance.
Yeah.
And by consolidation of all those different pieces of tech and then aligning them around business process, we reduced our total cost of ownership of our email platform by 70%.
Incredible.
And we increased our coverage, like our touches and touch points and communication and standardization across different geographies. We easily doubled or tripled that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love how it went from having 70 to, having 70% efficiency. I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, but that that leads me into my next question of how do you build and train digital teams to be agile, effective, aligned across the complex of the organizational structures, not even just, one that is national, but one that's actually global. I mean, tell us a little bit about how you've done that, within your
So
lifespan of working through these
yes,
things.
we would build a strategy for a global company. We would build a strategy, and we would bring in people from the subsidiaries because
Yeah.
typically in the US, we had a lot of arms and legs. So we could build a complicated process that if you tried to move that process to the UK or Germany or France, they might have enough scale there to be able to replicate that process because they had enough resources. But if you went from there to Peru, they couldn't do it because they didn't have a big enough team. So we would bring in people from the regions and we would say, what is the MVP process that even a subsidiary like Peru or Argentina could support with their resources? And it was usually pretty basic and straightforward. And that was our global process that we would adopt. And then if somebody wanted to be more sophisticated or add more layers on top of it later, they could, but that was our global capability. And
Okay.
then we created trainers and they would go and train on those processes in local language.
And when we're saying we're training trainers, this is pre-AI, so this is human trainers, obviously.
Yeah, humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although today I could imagine doing this with AI.
You could.
And it would be a really, really strong model.
And fast scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, there's some AI I've played with that if you train a process in English as an example, and then you just tell it, okay, now you're German, it still understands the steps and what you're trying to accomplish, but now it expresses everything in German.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's incredible where we're going,
Yeah.
and it's exciting.
It borders on magical.
Yeah. I love that you use that word. Honestly, thank you for that, because I think we need to remove ourselves from this fear factor of, AI and, oh my gosh, it's going to take away my job and so on and so forth. But I think if we actually take a step back, it's really going to supersede and make things just so much more effective and efficient.
I believe that there are things that clever, experienced humans know how to do that it'll be really hard to teach AI. Not
Yeah.
impossible, but it's going to take a long time.
And what are those things that you think are that you're thinking of?
Well, the ability to kind of take two or three really disparate pieces of data and stitch them together and see a pattern. I think that humans are especially good at that. With AI, I actually almost never say artificial intelligence. I say augmented intelligence because
Yeah.
I think the tools augment me. They make me better, faster, stronger.
Augment me.
Yeah. So it's AI, but it's not artificial. It's augmented.
Yeah.
Uh,
We're going to have to pull this quote out, Rob, of the of the recording. I love that. Augment me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, humans are really, really good at, doing that deep work. So everyone's so busy with their inboxes and with all the different signals that they're getting, and putting AI in between you and them to manage some of that noise
Yeah.
allows me to create chunks of time, 2 or 3 hours a day in my week, where I can just sit and do deep work. And I think, you know, it's been an awfully long time since I've had the ability to do that. And,
Yeah.
and then when I'm doing that work, I'm often leveraging AI tools, but it's really given me a lot of capacity to just go and think really deeply about some problems I'm trying to solve.
Yeah. How can I solve this with,
Yeah.
like, here's X problem, how can I solve it with Y?
And then using AI as a thought partner.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a conversation, and now the context windows are getting so large within each one of the tools that as I'm having a conversation with this large language model, it's sort of building on the conversation and coming back with even more and more pointed
Relevance.
ideas and
Yeah.
perspectives that, it's really become a thought partner.
Yeah. I love that. It really has become a thought partner. And a lot of the times when I speak to, when I teach some students just based on, their what they're graduating from, and it's crazy to me how a lot of them, depending on what they're studying, they don't really know how to utilize it. Because a lot of the questions they'd ask me, and I was like, tap into ChatGPT to use that.
Hmm.
Have a conversation with them. Start training it. Spend the $20 a month
Yeah.
to really, train that system and that model to get to know you. And it's going to be well worth it. And have the continuous conversation. And that's why I love it more than just doing anything on Google right now or Bing or Yahoo, because you ask it something, it feeds an answer back to you, and then you say, no, no, I need to clarify this. And then
Hmm.
you keep going until you really get to the root of what you're looking for.
Yeah. I did that last night, actually. I'm planning a holiday next year to a place I've never been before. And I asked ChatGPT to help me design about a 10-day visit to this
Trip.
location. And it prompted me with questions, and I answered them. And then it actually came up with a pretty good itinerary, and planned things to do on each day. And then I asked it, I said, okay, based on everything we've talked about, create a deep research prompt that I could then pass to deep research and have it go out and get links and links to hotels and so the first part of my ping-ponging back and forth in the conversation with the AI was really to refine what I wanted and what I wanted to
Yeah.
get out, create requirements. And then when I asked it for the deep research prompt, it summarized all of that into this really succinct, maybe about 2-page prompt that I then dropped into deep research. And if you've not used deep research yet, I encourage you to try, because it's again one of those magical things that takes 20 or 30 minutes to come back with an answer, but the answer it comes back with is better than anything I would expect to get from a
Yeah.
travel agent or a tour guide or
Unbelievable.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I definitely encourage. I have just started to tinker with deep research, and I'm loving the results that are coming out of it so far. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
I was getting good results out, but when I started asking AI to create a prompt for me to use in deep
In
research,
deep research. That's a
it
key.
yeah, it the prompts got way, way better.
Interesting. Okay. Keep that in mind for those listeners, and obviously for myself,
Yeah.
as Rob was saying, to ask ChatGPT to give you a prompt after you've asked for something, and whatever inquiry that you're putting in, to then say, give me a prompt to put into deep research to then further enhance.
Yeah.
I like it. Rob, In your opinion, where do you see the intersection of marketing tech, AI, and customer experience heading into in the next 3 to 5 years?
The the next 35 years or 3 to 5?
3 to 5.
Oh, yeah.
35, we're going to be on Mars or something at that point.
Yeah. Um, as amazing as these tools are today, ChatGPT, Gemini, Ella, I use all of them. Um, this is today is as bad as those tools are going to be ever. They're only going to get better.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to being able to affect things in the real world with agents and
Yeah.
string agents together to be able to like take that deep research that I did with my for my vacation prompt, and then
Yeah.
go book the plane tickets, go book the hotels, go take actions in the real world. And I know that there's some sort of edge case use cases today that can do that, but I think that that will become mainstream. So now that I have an AI partner,
Mm-hmm.
I could in 3 to 5 years, it could be helping me engage with my clients like directly. It could be
Yeah.
helping me build out marketing campaigns. It could be helping me solve some really specific technical problems with maybe a marketing automation platform that I've been asked to come in and take a look at. Because again, I don't think there's ever really bad technology. I think there's poor implementations of technology.
Yeah.
Or
Interesting.
technology that was purchased for one purpose, and then somebody said, "Yeah, but we need it to do something else." And I think
But some
that
great can come out of
yeah,
those instances.
yeah,
Yeah. It's almost like that they had developed it to do one thing and then they found that it could do something else 1,000 times better. And then it kind of spawned into that direction
yeah. So I think over the next few years, there's just going to be rapid development in that
and changes.
connection to the real world, and then also stitching agents together, and then having like an orchestration layer or a digital twin of myself that's like understands what I'm trying to accomplish and will nudge along other AIs to get some digital job done.
Yeah. And having that digital twin, which will almost be one step ahead of you, where it's like, well, you didn't think about this as part of like the bigger picture. That's going to be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been called a change agent. What's the mind shift leaders need to embrace if they want to stop reacting and start transforming?
I love a quote. I think it was from Facebook that was painted on the wall. The
Yeah.
run
I love
fast
your
and break
quotes. You gave
things.
me a good one last time from Atomic Bombs.
Oh, from a
Not atomic bombs, atomic
habits.
habits, yes.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
is
So
like good habits that are being dropped in
yeah,
the
so
book.
the
Yeah.
Atomics Habit quote is, "You don't rise to the level of your talent; you
Hmm.
fall to the level of your systems."
I
So,
love that.
and I may have misquoted it a little bit, but that's the gist. And I always try and think through whatever I'm doing is how do I systematize it. And the next step after you systematize something is, can I automate it? So
Yep.
like it's based on my work history, and it kind of makes sense. Um, but I'm always trying to find a way to get scale and have an impact.
Yeah. This has been so insightful, Rob. I mean, truly very, very extensive in terms of details. And I really appreciate your time and effort, through walking us through all of this and, lots of like some really good nuggets that we can really take away from that. But before I go, I like to do something fun with all my guests and
Mhm.
kind of rapid fire some questions. And whatever first comes to mind, just drop that. So my first question is, biggest buzzword in digital that makes your eyes roll?
Mm. It it's probably AI, like
Yeah,
applied to everything. Um,
nowadays.
yeah, yeah. before that it was blockchain.
Before that, it
I
was crypto.
yeah, yeah. So I think that there's always been intelligence in software and in applications, and people misapply large language models to all kinds of problems. There there are there are problems that LLMs are not suited for, and I watch people push data into an LLM and ask, here's an
Figure
Excel
this out for
spreadsheet,
me.
show me what my budget should be, and LLMs just can't do that today. So
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. There's always been intelligence. It's just too much of a AI, 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 and everybody's like running around
yeah.
like headless chickens versus focusing on jumping on the bandwagon and really learning it before it runs away too fast.
Mm.
Favorite tech tool or platform right now?
Reclaim.
Okay. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about that.
So I work today with 6 different organizations, and managing my calendar between the 6
Yeah.
could be a headache. But what Reclaim does is I just give it access to each one of the 6 calendars, and I could send you a link, and you can see when I'm available next week. And it checks against all 6, and it knows when I'm available, and it will make available 30 minutes or an hour, depending on which link I send you.
Yeah.
But it helps me keep my life straight with all my clients, because if someone wants to talk to me on Monday afternoon, they have my link and they can just book time with me.
Yeah.
So that way I can operate fractionally across
The
6 different
different, yeah.
companies, and people feel like, oh, I'll just talk to Rob on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. I'll have to check it out. One book or resource every digital leader should be reading.
Speed of Trust, Stephen Covey.
Okay. Okay.
So there was a Stephen Covey book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People,
Yes.
that was really popular about 20. It was really there's my dogs. It was really popular about 20 or 30 years ago, and his son, also named Stephen Covey, wrote Speed of Trust.
Yeah.
And that book I read and reread about every other year.
I love books like that where you just keep coming back to it. You probably have a ton of post-it notes and just notes all over that book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a favorite for sure.
Well, that's great. I'll have to definitely check that out as well. Well, thank you, Rob. Really, truly. I mean, this has been super insightful, and I'm excited for jumping on that call tomorrow, and
Yeah,
digging into more of that and staying connected. So I really appreciate your time here.
yeah, I'm super excited to introduce you to my network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I thank you for that.
Hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.